That's what I do.
What are you believe?
I'm agnostic.
Agnostic. I ask you why, because I want to challenge you as a Christian.
Go for it.
Is you are an agnostic because you believe that's the most reasonable position to have right now, right?
Well, I mean, not like in like a trendy way, but I would say like out of the 501 so religions, like which one is true?
Yeah.
Which one's telling the truth? I'm kind of like I'm up and down the situation.
Well, let me ask you
I do
this.
my research.
So when you do your research, what you're presupposing, because if you've heard of it,
I have no clue.
Well, that's what I'm going to say. I'll tell you what you're presupposing, because everybody does. It's philosophical. It's called transcendentalism in philosophy.
Sure.
You are presupposing that there are laws of logic, right? Law of contradiction, law of identity. So you are assuming these things in order to evaluate anything that's called evidence. So you're assuming laws of contradiction, laws of rational inference, these rational laws and mathematical laws. And so what I would challenge you as a Christian...
Wait, which mathematical laws?
Well, just that there are mathematical laws that apply to every...
Sure, yes.
And as far as you know, the laws of logic that you are evaluating things with apply to everything you evaluate.
Sure.
So what I would challenge you with is, let's say, as a Christian, that makes sense to the Christian.
Sure.
It makes sense in a Christian worldview that you would have a universal laws of they're not physical laws, they're abstract laws, or mental even. Like they're only apprehended mentally.
Yeah, that's fair.
So what I would say is these laws exist independent of us. Like mathematicians believe there are mathematical equations that they discover. They didn't invent them, they discovered them.
Sure.
So where do they exist though when you're not thinking of them? Or where do these universal laws exist?
They're human made.
No, they're not.
Why not?
Well, because they're exact opposite of what your brain produces. Like your brain is not infinite, your brain is not absolute, your brain makes mistakes, but the laws of mathematics are infinite, they apply to everything,
Sure.
they don't make mistakes, they don't change, your brain changes, right?
Sure.
So it's like, it's the exact opposite of your brain.
Mm-hmm.
So it can't be the product of your brain or anybody else's brain or collective group of brains, because it's not, it's the opposite of them. And
so how would that not exist in like an atheistic purview?
How would laws of logic exist?
Yes.
I would challenge an atheist that they don't, that you can't be an atheist rationally. Because if you're trying to be rational, you have to appeal to a Christian worldview. A Christian worldview says that everything can and has to be rational, because the God that made everything and that upholds everything is the rational God of Christianity.
Sure.
And he made you in his image, and he puts within you and me the ability to reason, and he says, "Come, let us reason together." Mm-hmm. But an atheist, who is usually, when they say they're atheists, they're materialistic determinists.
Sure.
Like everything, like you and I are meat machines, right?
To a degree, yeah.
We're flesh robots or whatever.
Yes.
So if I'm a meat machine, how could I ever realize I'm a meat machine? That would have meaning? I would
never really know. You don't know either.
Right.
We're all kind of figuring it out.
That's the thing is, if in the atheist worldview, the whole basis of their worldview contradicts their conclusions. Like if I'm a meat machine, then by definition I can never know that I'm a meat machine.
Sure.
Because if I know it, I don't really know it. This is the thought that has been imposed.
But you don't either is what I'm saying.
What's that?
But you don't either is what I'm saying.
No, we can as a Christian, because what we're saying is because you've been made in the image of God and you've been given free will and the ability to reason, then now that explains how reasoning is possible.
But you don't know for a fact that your religion is true, though.
Yeah, you do.
How so?
Well, that's what I'm explaining is it's philosophically certain. It's philosophically certain.
No one's certain. I'm not certain. Christians aren't certain. They'll even admit that themselves.
No, they are. You're certain. I'll prove to you that you're certain. You're certain that you're not certain. Right? That's certain.
I mean, you can use word salad, but sure.
No, that's not word salad. If I say 2 + 2 or 4,
yeah,
is that absolute?
It is.
As far as you can tell. That'd be one.
Yeah,
that's what philosophers usually appeal to mathematics, because that's generally accepted as universal. The Egyptians used math to build the pyramids. The Babylonians used math.
They did.
All these ancient societies used math.
Sure.
And it didn't evolve. There's no explanation of how math could have evolved.
Sure.
It just exists.
Sure.
And what we're saying is, as Christians, we don't have a problem with that, because it exists in the mind of God.
Sure.
And since he made us in his image, he imparts us the ability to reason. But if you're just a meat machine coming up from evolutionary random chance, you can't know even that fact.
But you're reasoning yourself that Jesus resurrected.
No, historical records that Jesus rose again from the dead.
According to a book from 1,000,000 years ago?
It's history. It's not 1,000,000 years ago, by the way, but it's history. And they've got documents that date back to the 1st century. I'm not talking about millions of copies.
But because some people wrote it doesn't make it automatically true.
Right. Nothing because people wrote it.
I'm saying it's more complex than you're putting it as. It's not so simplistic.
No, but I agree. But what I'm saying is complexity and in rationality and thought, and what is necessary to be true. Like if you say, well, how do I know what truth is? How do I evaluate truth? Well, you presuppose laws of logic. Not only that, you presuppose uniformities in nature, laws of physics. And you also presuppose your ability to apply these things and come to conclusions, accurate conclusions.
Scientific.
So everybody presupposes this, but what I'm saying is that only makes sense in a Christian worldview.
How so?
Because in a Christian worldview, you've got a universal God who can uphold all things by the word of his power. Like if you're an atheist...
But that's assuming that he's true.
No, it has to. There's impossible for him not to be true. If he's not true, you couldn't know anything at all, is what I'm arguing as a Christian. If God doesn't exist, knowledge is not possible.
But through norms and culture changes, you can find out that those things are true.
Because God exists. That's what the argument is.
No, I don't believe that.
I know you don't believe it. What I'm saying is, if you reject it, you have to construct a worldview that's coherent, right?
And why is that bad?
It's not. I'm saying it's impossible apart from Christianity. It can't happen. Only in Christianity can you bring it together.
So you're saying that God created 2 + 2 = 4?
No. He didn't create mathematics in the sense that he could have made 2 + 2 = 5 or something like that.
Yeah.
His nature it reflects the nature of God, which is the law of contradiction is dependent upon the nature of God. Like God, because he exists, his non-existence is automatically contradicted. Like his existence is where the laws of logic and mathematics come from. It's because he exists. And when he makes things and creates the universe, this is his mind being imposed on the creation. That's how they're able to build this building and apply mathematics to physical matter and build a building, because they've been made in the image of God.
Well, no, because humans were able to figure out that paint was able to stick through and last long.
Because they were made in the image of God. They can reason. So what I'm saying is in philosophy it's called...
But the reasoning wasn't made due to God, it was due to human creation.
No, it was...
Of those resources.
What I'm arguing is that people's ability to reason is because they are created by God.
But I don't believe that people were created by God.
Right. And if your worldview was true, which is not, but if it were true, what I'm saying is reasoning would not even make sense. It would not be possible to reason.
Why so?
Because you'd be a meat machine.
I don't get it. I'm not following. I'm sorry.
Well, like if I said I believe in God and you said I don't believe in God.
Yes.
And then the reason that we both agreed and we said, you know what? The reason I believe in God and the reason you don't believe in God is because chemical reactions are happening in our brain that we don't control. Right? Like chemical reactions are happening in my brain and they make me believe God and they make you not believe in God. Now which one?
Well, I mean, you can have a choice.
Well, what I'm saying is, if meat machines are true, you don't have a choice. What I'm saying is, if meat machines...
You weren't born with...
Programmed, that's determinism, that's what it means. If you're a meat machine, you're predetermined by your brain structure or whatever.
I wasn't born an atheist.
Well, whatever your thought structure of your brain, like if you say thought is only physical, then you don't control physicality with your brain, with your law, with your thought.
That's really honest right now, I could go up to that guy and convince you that I'm Christian and I could believe it.
Yeah,
what changes?
Well, I believe you do have a free will. You do have the ability to reason.
Yeah.
But that's because I'm a Christian. I believe in a Christian worldview. But if you don't, and you're an atheist and you're a determinist, physical determinist, then all you can say is, I didn't change my mind changed. The programming changed. Now, is it true? I don't know. All I know is my brain changed. That's the best an atheist can say.
Well, you can use effort on your behalf to change your mind.
You can, because the Christian worldview is true. That's why I'm reasoning with you right now. Because I don't believe in atheism. I don't believe you're a meat machine. I believe you've been made in the image of God.
Okay.
But if I believed in determinism, then it would be foolish for me to be talking to you, because I would be saying, well, you can't know what I know, because the only reason we know what we know is because our brains are making us.
Sure.
And so if you change your mind, you didn't really change your mind just inadvertently changed. There was no you, there was no I determining it. It was just your brain changed. It was just a meat machine. Things happen.
Wait, then how would a Christian learn math then?
Well, because we've been made in the image of God. Okay. And I'm not saying that atheists don't know math. I'm saying the reason they do know math is because they are created by the Christian God. They're creatures of God too. so they can use math. What I'm saying is that's evidence of the Christian worldview.
How so?
Because mathematics, these abstract laws that exist, that are universal, that exist everywhere, that we apprehend mentally, is because God made us in His image, and He's the universal mind behind everything. And He made you in His image. So thought is possible because of that. But if you say, no, I don't believe that, my challenge to you is that thought...
But there aren't inherent brain characteristics for atheist versus Christian.
No.
We're all made in the same likeness, so what changes here?
Right.
Like what's the line being drawn?
What I would say, the reason that people don't agree, and the reason there are differences, even among atheists, I mean, you got atheists, the reason they have... What I'll argue that there are disagreements among every field of science, every field of philosophy, every field, all fields.
What area?
Is any area, pick any area. Not everybody agrees 100% on everything. And what I would say is, as a Christian, we explain...
What about like scientific laws?
Well, they change. They change opinions on those things. I mean,
there's some consensus. Like the world's a globe. We know that because we've gone into space and saw it.
Right. But again, as a Christian, I would say, there's science, because the God that made us with the ability to reason upholds all things by the word of His power, which is how laws are possible. Because if you don't believe in the Christian God, then there's randomness. That means there are no universal laws. And so you can't say you expect any one thing to occur over any other thing to occur. So I would say, as a Christian,
we can come in with like an objectively open mind.
We can, but what I'm saying is, because Christianity is true, there are laws. You can use laws. You can reason with laws, because our worldview, the Christian worldview, is true. The Bible is true, and that's why you can think.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, as an atheist, they also are made in the image of God, and they can think, but they don't give God the glory for it. They're just saying, "Oh, it just happens. We're meat machines, and it's just there." And I'm like,
but I'm missing the proof here.
Well, the proof is that in order for you to think in the first place, you have to assume what we've talked about. You have to assume universal laws of logic, universal laws of science, physical laws.
But those are all human-made. They're not inherent.
Well, no, physical laws aren't made. Mathematical laws are not made. Laws of logic are not made. They're discovered.
Yes.
Even your most, I was listening to a guy the other day, Stephen Meyer, actually, you can go on.
I think I've heard of him,
He was on there explaining, he just came out with another book. He's an intelligent design creationist. But anyway, he was arguing this very point with an atheist who admitted I can't remember the guy's name right now, but anyway, he's a famous atheist. He's on. I can almost remember his name, it's like right here. But anyway, Shermer, Michael Shermer, I think's his name.
I haven't heard him now.
Anyway, but he's.
You know who Destiny is?
Destiny, the name sounds familiar.
Okay. Stephen Bonnell, he's like a streamer on Twitch and YouTube.
Not sure.
Okay. Check him out. He's really smart.
Okay. Well, anyway, Stephen Meyer, who's a Christian, he said, look, mathematicians, and he knows mathematicians that are professors of math, and he said that these complex equations, there's no evidence of them in the physical world. They're abstractions. And he said that we don't invent them, we discover them.
Well, math in and of itself is abstract.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, again, the reason you can use math is because God made you in His image.
Well, no, because humans discovered it.
Yeah, but they discovered it because God made them in His image and gave them the capacity to reason.
Why should I believe that as an atheist?
Well, because if you say I don't believe, if you say I'm an atheist,
yes,
you automatically disqualify science, logic, and morality. Because it literally in atheism, if science, if I were to tell you, and I'm not making this up. This is in history of philosophy.
I got you.
Bertrand Russell, you heard of him? He's a famous atheist philosopher of the 19th.
Yeah.
And also he confirmed David Hume, who was a 1700s. Scottish philosopher. Anyway, he came up with this idea. It was called the problem of induction in the history of philosophy, which means the only reason he argued, it was an empiricist, and he said there's not rationality, like there's not this Platonic mind realm where there are abstractions. He said there's only physical matter and that's it, and we're meat machines basically. But he said that the only reason you expect the future to be like the past is psychology.
Sure.
And so if I were to tell you, oh, hey, the gravity is the reason that the moon goes around the sun.
Sure.
I mean, the moon goes around the sun. Well, the moon goes around the earth and it goes around the sun. But if I said gravity, and he would say, well, really all you're saying is gravity, but gravity is nothing more than you expecting. You're thinking it's going to happen because it has in the past. But if I say, why do you think it's going to happen in the future, other than because it happened in the past, you would have to admit, I don't know any other reason that it's going to continue in the future.
I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But as a Christian, because we have a God that is the God of the heavens and the earth, and he's got a purpose for them, we can have science.
Why does that legitimize your belief?
Because science can be legitimized in Christianity, but not without it. Science is possible in Christianity, but it's irrational in other worldviews.
Okay.
So like if you start with a worldview that contradicts laws of logic and science and morality, then you can't make sense of them. Then it's like saying, well, hey, my worldview contradicts these things, and so therefore these things are real, so my worldview must not be right.
I got you.
And so what I'm saying is when you reason that way, you end up saying Christianity is the only one that can account for these things.